Comrades, military commissars, commanders, joint forces are advancing along almost the entire front. Formations and military units defeating the enemy are successfully pushing deep into his defenses. In December, more than 700 square kilometers of territory and 32 settlements have already been liberated, which represents the highest rate of advancement for any single month throughout the entire outgoing year. This year, a total of 6,640 square kilometers of territory and 334 settlements have come under our control. The enemy is not undertaking any active offensive actions. It has primarily focused its efforts on strengthening its defensive positions and is endeavoring to slow down the momentum of our advance by carrying out counterattacks in specific areas and through the extensive use of unmanned aerial vehicles. The northern group of forces is continuing to expand the security zone in the border areas of the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. In December, following Vovchansk, control was established over 5 additional settlements within these oblasts. In conjunction with carrying out their combat objectives, the engineering units of the task force are actively engaged in demining operations across the territories of the Suzhensky, Glushkovsky, and Korenevsky districts within the Kursk region. Significant assistance in this crucial process has been provided by the units of the Korean People's Army. Formations of the West Group continue to rout enemy units to the east of Kupiansk on the left bank of the Oskol River. The territory controlled by the encircled AFU group on the left bank has been reduced by more than half. Today, the liberation of the settlements of Boguslavka and Dibrova has been completed. In the Krasnolimansky and Rubtsovsky directions, formations and military units of the West Group are actively advancing in the city of Krasny Liman. The destruction of enemy formations encircled in Drobashevo is ongoing. More than half of the populated area is now controlled by Russian forces. Troops of the southern grouping, following the liberation of Seversk, are advancing on a broad front towards Sloviansk. The liberation of Konstantinovka is continuing. Elements of the center group of forces following the liberation of Krasnoarmeysk and Dimitrov are developing their offensive operations across a wide front to the north of the Krasnoarmeysk-Dimitrov agglomeration. And in Grishino, the entire southeastern portion of the populated locality has now come under our complete control. Concurrently, the grouping's forces are successfully establishing a security zone within the Dnipropetrovsk region. Approximately half of the populated area of Novopavlivka has already been liberated, and intense street battles are currently underway in Novopodhorodne. The Vostok troop grouping continues its offensive operations in the Zaporizhzhia region, specifically on the western bank of the Haichur River, pushing deep into the enemy's defensive lines. The troops belonging to the Dnipro grouping are currently launching an offensive in the direction of the city of Zaporizhzhia. The settlement of Lukyanovskoye has been successfully liberated. The liberation of Primorskoye is being completed. Street fighting is underway in Orekovo. Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, the fulfillment of tasks for the liberation of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions will be continued in accordance with the plan. The report is done.
Thank you, Valery. Literally just a couple of days ago, on the 27th of December, we held a comprehensive working meeting during which we extensively focused on and thoroughly analyzed the situation concerning the operational directions of the center. And in the east, the center group of forces, after the liberation of Krasnoarmeysk and Dimitrov, is completing the elimination of the encircled Ukrainian armed forces group there, and simultaneously developing its offensive in the direction of the state border and the borders of the Donetsk People's Republic. The situation in the combat operation zone of the Vostok group is also developing favorably. In the Zaporizhzhia region, the group's forces, having successfully crossed the Haichur River, have broken through the enemy's defenses and are now rapidly advancing in the direction of Zaporizhzhia. In December, the group liberated more than 200 square kilometers of territory and 10 populated areas, including the city of Gulepole. I now give the floor to Colonel General Evgeny Valerievich Nikiforov. Please, the floor is yours.
Your comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, following the liberation of Kursk Oblast, they was that the North Group of forces concentrated its main efforts on expanding the security zone into Ukrainian territory along the borders of Belgorod and Kursk Oblasts. In the course of conducting offensive operations, the combat units and formations belonging to the group have established control over more than 940 square kilometers of the border territories within the Sumy and Kharkiv regions and have liberated 32 settlements. In the Sumy region, 18 settlements have been liberated, including 2 specifically during the month of December. In the Kharkiv region, 5 populated areas were brought under control during the course of combat operations in December. Overall, 14 settlements have been liberated since the start of the Russian forces' offensive. The most significant among these is the district administrative center, the city of Vovchansk.
What is the overall scope and duration of the work involved in creating these security zones?
I report, Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief. In the Sumy region, the security zone extends more than 16 kilometers in depth and 60 kilometers along the front. Furthermore, the advanced units are now less than 20 kilometers away from the regional center. In the Kharkiv region, the security zone measures up to 15 kilometers in depth and over 130 kilometers along the front line.
You mentioned the capture of the city of Vovchansk. When exactly did that take place?
We took this in November.
So how would you evaluate the overall significance of taking this particular settlement?
The liberation of Vovchansk significantly expanded the length of the security strip and ensures the advance of the group of forces in the southern direction.
All right, Yevgeny Valerievich, this is a very important task as it ensures the security of Russia's border regions. And in 2026, this work must certainly be continued. I want to thank you for the results, you and all your personnel. Sergei Yurievich, the West grouping is operating effectively. The Chief of the General Staff reports regularly. We also met not too long ago. You briefed me on what's happening in your sector. Today, I'd like you to report in detail on the results of combat missions in this area, please.
In the Krasny Lyman direction, combat missions are being carried out by units of the 25th Army. Currently, units of the 67th Motorized Rifle Division's regiments have entered the settlement of Krasny Lyman from several directions. They are presently engaged in combat operations within the city blocks. Units are advancing in a westerly direction, systematically clearing up pockets of resistance in the enemy's fortified strongholds. The Kupan ratici 64th, Wafan 69th Motorized Rifle and 11th Tank Brigade secured the main road axis Krasny Lyman, Zakotne, Seversk, thereby severing the enemy's main supply lines. During the combat operations, the settlement of Dibrova was liberated. A portion of the unit's forces have entered the northern outskirts of the settlement of Ilishevka, and they are currently engaged in street fighting to liberate the settlement from the enemy. Simultaneously, the assault units of the 25th Army are actively developing their offensive operations in a westward direction. They are currently advancing through the extensive forested areas of the Sviaty Hory National Park, thereby expanding their zone of control along the Siversky Donets River.
I want to draw your attention to the successful work that has been carried out in the Krasnolymansk direction. It is very important. Well, and here, yes, of course, we absolutely must complete the elimination of this group on the northern. We've actually discussed this before. I remember it quite clearly. On the left bank, how many enemy forces are still remaining there, based on your current calculations?
Specifically, in the Boguslav sector, we are completing the destruction of the 6th Army, and approximately 10 battalions remain in the 1st Army sector. That's just over 2,500 combatants.
Well, it's gradually diminishing. Just recently it was reported that there were 3,500, wasn't it? No? Yeah. And you reported, and now you've also mentioned the enemy's attempts to obstruct the development of the situation in Kupiansk itself, which of course must be decisively thwarted. I know that you are undertaking all the necessary and appropriate actions for this.
Comrade Commander-in-Chief, in the the Kupiansk operational direction, the elimination of Ukrainian armed forces formations which are encircled to the east of Kupiansk is being conducted in accordance with the approved plan.
By the General Staff's design, currently our forces are carrying out the destruction of units of the 14th Mechanized Brigade in the area of the settlements of Podolovo and Kupiansk, and
We plan to complete the elimination of the final remaining encircled segment of the enemy's forces during the months of January and February.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. And the same goes for our very best wishes and words of gratitude to the personnel of the grouping.